Tasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamanitana Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Rapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putveti Tan Maitaya Tadavo Vinedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptaschakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavi Namo Namaha. So we're going to continue hearing the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Kanda, chapter 12. Begin with verse 18. Yesterday, we were hearing again about the order of Mahaprabhu to go out and teach, preach, chant the name of Krishna, sing the glories of Krishna, engage in the worship of Krishna. We heard a few verses about warnings about misunderstanding Advaita Acharya's teachings. And that comes up in different places. But I don't know very much about it. But apparently, Vrindavan Das Thakur talks about it a lot, and it has to do with the fact that Advaita Acharya had many followers who later or were impersonalists, and they took some of his teachings and writings to be supportive of that conception. But apparently, and Mahaprabhu himself had said that, when you understand Advaita's teachings, then in no way would you perceive it to be such. Anyway, there were a number of verses. We didn't say anything about it. All I can say is that there are other places where it's discussed in more detail. And even today, there are descendants, so-called descendants, of Advaita Acharya who follow that impersonal conception. So there's a warning given. This book was written contemporaneously with, these personalities. They may have just left a little bit before. The whole history was there, the whole emerging culture post-Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada has commented in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when the Acharya leaves, there's chaos, always chaos. And that seems to be true in our own history. Because, in one sense, because people whose mixed motives are covered during the time of the Acharya, then that comes out, these mixed and impure motives. And those with incomplete understanding, right, avidvadruti, understanding of the teachings of the Acharya, then with no one to check them, they may become prominent. So many things may happen. And then, as Srila Bhakti-Rakshak Maharaj has said, how could it not but be that when our most dear and dearly beloved, the very object of our life is departed, how could we not go crazy, right? So, and I remember after Srila Prabhupada departed and after Srila Gurudev departed, there was craziness, absolutely. So, I'm sure it refers to that. So, at any rate, now we come to the last two instructions, the last two verses we read, being ordered by the Lord, the two, Haridasa Thakur and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, went door to door and requested everyone, chant the name of Krishna, sing the glories of Krishna, and engage in the worship of Krishna, door to door. And remember, Navadvip at this time was dominated by smartas, those who were attached to varnashram for materialistic purposes or impersonal liberation. Mostly all the scholars and brahmanas were concerned with logic, argument, right? Useless waste of time. And then the last thing we heard, Krishna prana, Krishna dhana, Krishna se jivan, hena Krishna balabai, hai ekaman. Krishna is your life. Krishna is your wealth. Krishna is your very life and soul. Oh, brothers, chant the name of that Krishna with full attention. It's important. This chanting of the name, he means to chant purely and with realization that Krishna and his name and his pastimes, qualities, everything are non-different, right? And that one who can chant with that realization or that determination, even if it's only a philosophical realization, but faith in that ideal, then your chanting will bear fruit. But in the Jaiva Dharma, chapter 23, it says not to have faith in that idea is aparad. And an extension of that is not to have faith that the name of Krishna and the deity of Krishna are non-different. Non-different. Very deep conception. So that that deity is a transcendent personality. The name is a transcendent personality. We'll read this purport. Did we read this yesterday? Krishna alone is the original living force. Krishna alone is the original living force. Inclination towards him is the symptom of Krishna conscious life. Right. Inclination towards him meaning what? Inclination towards service. Inclination towards connecting, developing relationship through loving service. Right? To worship, to adore, to appreciate. Living entities who are averse to Krishna are devoid of life. Objects that are not related to Krishna are worthless. Krishna alone bestows all perfection. And when he says objects that are not related, that means objects that we don't relate with Krishna. Everything is related to Krishna because he's the source, of everything. There's no truth superior to him, right? Matat paratanam nanyat. But when you have that vision and things that you see them only in terms of what's in it for me. How can I enjoy this? How can I use this? And not connect it with its source, that everything belongs to God and should therefore be used in his service, right? Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchate. If you understand everything in relationship to Krishna and use it like that, then you are living a life of real renunciation, right? Krishna alone bestows all perfection. Aversion to Krishna is proof of one's material conditioning and lifelessness. Objects that are not related to Krishna are decorated by the prowess of the illusory energy. In other words, all the allurement and attraction that we feel for objects in this realm, the illusory energy is very powerful. She can make us think that, this object can give me pleasure and happiness, right? But if that were so, how come the wealthiest people collect so much? Keep collecting, and they always want more. Because you get it, and you get a little thing of happiness, but then you want more. And that's why you see people that collect anything. I don't know, guns. They collect guns. Some of these people have walls and walls of guns. They're never going to use them all. They don't use most of them, but each time, I love this. Or watches, or cars, or so many things, that shoes. Remember years and years ago there was that was it the president's wife of the Philippines? The Marcos, Imelda Marcos. And when they finally fell and they stormed the palace and got rid of him, they looked at Imelda Marcos's closet, right? I don't know, 10,000 pairs of shoes, something ridiculous like that, you know. There's just no end to it. So, jewelry, you know, just one thing after another. Clothes, how many suits, how many dresses. Yeah, women are really afflicted by that, you know. Their closets, and they can't wear the same thing more than once or twice, can't be seen in that. Now, that's if you have money, you know. But they're never happy. They're never happy, you know. Happy is that you don't have any choices. Oh, I'll just wear this thing. That's all I got, you know. So you don't worry about it anymore. That's why devotee life is so nice. Put on the same thing every day, you know. Let's see, which uttaraya should I wear today? Oh, this uttaraya matches my dhoti and my cloth. Yeah, this looks really good. Anyway, illusory energy is very powerful, very powerful. Objects not related to Krishna are decorated by the prowess of the illusory energy. Therefore, the grammatical literatures that instruct one to vibrate topics that are not related to Krishna do not bestow unalloyed and ultimate auspiciousness on the living entities. Krishna alone is supremely worshipable. Therefore, glorification of Krishna is the only authorized path. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, it is stated, just as aquatics always desire to remain in the vast mass of water, all conditioned living entities naturally desire to remain in the vast existence of the Supreme Lord. So when you're conditioned, you want to live within the universe, but you're looking for that best place. And when you're spiritually purified, you're looking for a very specific environment as well. Am I looking for the Vaikuntha environment where I can worship my Lord in grandeur and splendor with very precise rules and regulations of how to please him, and catch vision, a darshan of him time to time, and be with others in that same mood, or go to Ayodhya and worship that perfect king, Lord Ram, and his beautiful brothers and his, wife, Sita, such a magnificent form of the Lord as well, or go to Dwarka and worship Krishna there. But ultimately, our path, our objective, is that most divine realm of Braj, where Krishna is worshipped most perfectly in love, uncluttered, unimpeded by knowledge that he's God. That the only reason that you love Krishna is because he's Krishna. He's the son of Nandamaraj. He's the friend of the cowherd boys. He's the beloved of the Brajadevis, right? He's the caretaker of the cows and the calves. He's the dancer in the forests, right? The most perfect, most beautiful, most charming, most wonderful person that everyone just loves naturally. And Krishna revels in their love and reciprocates in the most perfect ways. Perfect. Everybody's happy. This is what we're looking for. So, then, whoops. What's going on here? What? Why is this skipping? There it is. Okay. In this way, matta nadiyaya pratigore buliyave dana dui jagat ishvare. In this way, the two controllers. Oh God, I'm having trouble here. I may have to reset this, how I'm looking at it. Let me see. Okay. In this way, the two controllers of the universe went to every house as they wandered throughout Nadia. Purport. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Namacharya Haridasa Thakur are both, pardon me, I have to reset how this is reading. I don't know what that is. How about this? There we go. There we are. This should work. Okay, so in this way, the two controllers of the universe went to every house as they wandered throughout Nadia. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, purport by Saraswati Prabhupada, because it says two controllers, right? So Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Namacharya Haridasa Thakur are both controllers of the universe. The people of this world accept wrong paths and fall into calamities. These two lords provide auspiciousness to such misguided people by becoming their guides, protecting the living entities from prajalpa, and engaging their speech in the service of the Lord. The expert guide, Thakur Haridas, helps them control their sinful minds and invite the favorable flow of thoughts in order to protect their body and limbs from aversion to the worship of Krishna, and thus delivers them from their bodily hardships. And Lord Nityananda removes the unhappiness of this world and merges the living entities in eternal bliss. Oh my God, this is such an amazing statement. Okay, so in this context, of course, we're understanding Thakur Haridas, who also non-different from Lord Brahma, right? And Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was also, he's one of the 12 Mahajanas, great authorities in spiritual teaching. And Lord Brahma also, Mahajana, but also the head of the original Sampradaya, in which Mahaprabhu himself has appeared. So they're both teachers and guides. But listen to what he says about Thakur Haridas, Namacharya. So, and this will apply to any powerful personality teaching the chanting of the holy name. And the idea is to protect us from bodily and mental hardships. He said, sinful minds. He says, listen to this. Protecting the living entities from prajalpa, that means, speech, mundane, gramya katha, speech outside of the realm of Krishna katha, Hari katha, and engaging their speech in the service of the Lord. So that means also maybe not directly citing the glories of Krishna, you may be talking about something in the realm of service. Hey, go get that wood, chop down that tree and dry it out, so we won't freeze in the winter. That doesn't sound like Krishna katha, but it's service, right? Go get the mail. Hey, did you buy sabji? That's seva katha, so that too. It's related to Krishna. So controlling the speech and helps them control their sinful minds and invite the favorable flow of thoughts. Oh, now, this is really a little too close for me, because my sinful mind is always distracted by worries and problems, and this isn't going the way I want to, and that's not going the way I want to, all day long, looking around. Oh man, look at this problem, look at that problem. It's endless, right? And it could create a lot of anxiety unless you see everything in relation to Krishna, and unless you realize that he's ultimately the supreme controller and you just do the best you can. And the only way to calm down that restless mind is by the chanting of the holy name, reading of scripture, hearing of classes, watching things on the computer, classes, things like that, and engaging back and forth, Hari Katha. And actually, the 6 symptoms of loving exchange that Rupa Goswami describes, this is the way to live your life, right? Dadati pratigrinati, guyamakati prichati, Bhunkte bojayate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam. Priti lakshanam means those 6 exchanges of love. If you live your life like this, dadati pratigrinati. What does that mean? That means offering things. It can mean to guru, and it can also mean to other Vaishnavas. Offering gifts that will assist one in the service of Krishna, right? Some clothing, some medicine, whatever, it might be, right? And receiving, reciprocally, things also. Guya Makati Prachati, revealing one's mind in confidence, sharing, one's understanding and realizations, and hearing from others, right? And sometimes that may mean sharing your problems and hearing others' problems, but not all the time. You don't want to hear people, whining all the time about everything. Some things you just got to tolerate, right? Right? That's also in Bhagavad Gita, Matra spashas tu kauntaya shitoshna dukkha dukkha, right? That agama payano nityas tangsta tiksvasvabharata, that you, winter and summer seasons, heat and cold, happiness and distress. These things are always coming in those dualities, trying to make us unhappy. Sometimes all you can do is tolerate. You just have to tolerate. You're not going to get away from it. The mind is always going to harass you. Tolerate it, drag it back to the service of Krishna. That's what I have to do every day. That's what you have to do every day, every moment, right? But what happens from that? You invite the favorable flow of thoughts, right? Things that make you happy. Oh, talking about Krishna, talking about service. If you like a particular service, I like to talk about cooking. I like to talk about Tulsi Seva. I don't like to talk about repairing the roof and stuff so much. That's not my bailiwick. But some things I like to talk about, and then they give me, yesterday we were talking about the dough we were making. Oh, it gave me so much pleasure. We tried a new system, right, with this sourdough, and it looked like it was coming out, and I'm just anticipating the next couple of days when we could use it. And then we're going to make something and offer it to the deities. Oh, it made me so happy. Talking about service makes you happy, right? And especially talking about service that's a strain. Back in the day, we endured some really challenging conditions in our Sankirtan service. But at the end of the day, we just come back and regale each other in these hardship stories, being chased around, being caught by the cops, getting in a fight with this person or that person, or almost getting in a fight. You just relish because, hey, you're struggling on behalf of your spiritual master. And at the end of the day, you're just laughing, having a great time. So the favorable flow of thoughts, Harikata and Sevakata, Vaishnav Sevakata. And what will that do? Control the sinful mind and protect the body and limbs from aversion to the worship of Krishna, and thus deliver them from bodily hardships. So you accept this process, and both bodily and mental hardships will fall away. And although it's not possible that in this world that everything goes away, you're being bothered by them or controlled by them will go away. You'll develop a different kind of mastery of these situations. The perfect mastery of a servant. Whatever I have to do for the satisfaction of my guru, if I'm convinced, and I've been taught that this is my guru's seva, then I will take it up no matter what. And if you persevere through that, you're rewarded. You will be rewarded. You are being rewarded. And Lord Nityananda removes the unhappiness of the world and merges the living entities in eternal bliss. Right? So Haridasa Thakur, he wasn't just a Babaji chanting, he also taught. That's why he's Acharya. He taught the teaching of the holy name. There's that famous story at the house of Raghunath Das, his uncle, Hiranya and Govardhan, his uncle and father. And there was one, Gopal Chapala, I think, or is it Gopal Chakravarti? Both of these were offenders. But Haridasa Thakur was there and talking about the power of the holy name. And he said the holy name is so powerful that even a semblance of it, Nama Bas, can award liberation. And this Gopala was educated Brahmana, but inclined towards smarta. He was employed in the house of Govardhan and Naranya because he's Bhakta Brahmin. Very intelligent, had very good karma, was very beautiful. His very beautiful body, very form, a golden complexion. But he took offense to what Haridasa Thakur said. And he said, "What? That's absurd. Just a semblance of the holy name can give liberation," because his idea with liberation was the topmost platform. And one had to endeavor through so many high-class lifetimes as a Brahmana and a Jnani to achieve that. And you say, you sentimental Vaishnava, that just by a reflection of the holy name, a shadow of the holy name, you can get that? I challenge that. And Haridasa said, "No, it's quite a fact." He says, "Well, then, I say this. If what you say is true, then my nose will fall off. But if you say what you say is not true, then your nose will fall off from leprosy." Right? What happened? Ranya and Govardhan became very angry at this person because they weren't highly advanced Vaishnavas, but they were Vaishnava Prai. They're like Kanishta. But they had great respect for Mahaprabhu and his servants and Haridasa Thakur. And so they kicked him out. They said, "All right, you don't work here anymore." And then within a few days, he got leprosy. And he got leprosy so bad, his nose fell off. And his fingers became stubs. I don't know, in America you don't really see that. In Bangalore, we would do book distribution on the streets, especially this one street, MG Road, Mahatma Gandhi Road, right? At that time, it was the main high-class shopping street. Now they've got malls and big box stores everywhere, but back then that was the place to go. Maybe it still is, I don't know. But that's also where all the tourists would go, and all different kinds of beggars. Gypsy girls with flowers, but also lepers. And the lepers would be on a cart being pushed around by their relative or something. And their fingers were all bandaged, nothing there. Their faces were all covered, and no one would want to go near them. You don't want to touch a leper, and they'd come up to you, and, it didn't look very pleasant to be a leper. He got leprosy. And it was so painful, the itching, the dying nerves. After the nerves die, then there's not so much pain, and he cried out to Mahaprabhu, "Oh, please, save me, this suffering condition." Prabhu said, "You think you're suffering now? This is just an introduction. It's just a beginning. You're going to have much greater suffering when you leave this body because you've offended my Haridasa Thakur, greatest devotee. And what can I do? What can I do? Oh, you have to beg forgiveness from that devotee. If you beg forgiveness from that devotee and he forgives you, then I forgive you." Which he did, and then it was over. Right? That's the thing. You have to be very careful. There's so many Vaishnavas, and not all the Vaishnavas are in the same group that you're in, same institution, same branch of a religion or this or that. But again, in that 23rd chapter of Jaiva Dharma, when they discuss the first nama aparad, offending sadhu ninda, guru ninda, one who is an acharya in teaching the holy name, whose life is dedicated to chanting and teaching this, if you offend them, you're destroyed. There's no excuse for that. And the only way to get out of that is to beg forgiveness from them, right? And what if they're not around anymore? What if they've left this world? Well, then you only have the recourse to take shelter of the holy name itself, and with great remorse and crying, continually chanting, begging to be forgiven for this offense, because Krishna, non-different from his name, he takes offense when you offend his devotee. "Please, I did not mean, I did not know, I was ignorant, please forgive me, please forgive me." And also, if there happens to be another very high-class devotee, perhaps they can intercede on your behalf as well. But the best thing is just not to offend in the first place, right? So, then, Dohana sanyasi vesha yanha yaragare atevyata ashibiksha nimantrana kare Nityananda Haridasa bole e biksha bala Krishna bhaja Krishna kara Krishna shiksha. Both were dressed as sannyasis. At every house they went, they were eagerly invited to take their meal. Nityananda and Haridasa would then say, our only request is to chant the names of Krishna, worship Krishna, and follow the teachings of Krishna. Purport. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Thakur Haridasa were dressed as sannyasis. The dress of a sannyasi, or the garb of a renunciate, is the dress of a bhikshuka. When they were eagerly invited to take a meal, wherever they went, they did not accept anything. Rather, as ordered by the Lord, they simply requested everyone to chant the names of Krishna, worship Krishna, and follow the instructions of Krishna. That's our business, going house to house. In India, sadhus get invited to a lot of houses, and generally they will want to put on a big meal, a big feast for that guru or that sadhu. Right? It's appropriate for grahastha to do. But many brahmacharis will want to go also, because oftentimes in the mat, daily fare is not very opulent or rich, and they want to go to the house program, and not just brahmacharis, and some groups of ladies also, and get, let's go, because they're going to give a big feast. Yes, I want to go. But that's not the right motive. Actually, the real motive is to go for the purification of that family and to hear the Harikatha. That's the real motive. In fact, Srila Narayan Maharaj, he generally made it a rule not to take a feast at the homes of these people. He would perhaps agree to take some fruit, right, or some milk, right? And because he didn't want, for two reasons. One is that most people are not qualified to cook and offer. A Vaishnava will only take food that's been cooked by a devotee and offered by a devotee. Or if you have to, because of the exigencies of preaching, then you offer yourself and you take only certain kinds of things. And so if you are to accept something in a house, fruit is very clean, milk very clean, and you can offer that mentally, and then there's no problem. These are very sattvic things. They don't necessarily carry sin like grains and food cooked by the hands of materialistic people would. So they were dressed as sannyasis, which meant they had simple garb, right? Simple cloth, red cloth probably. So, let's see, I think there's much more description here, but this is a good spot. I think we can read one more verse. Where's that? Where did it go? It disappeared. It's gone. Well, I guess we're stopping here then. There's more descriptions of their pastime, and then they're going to meet Jaga and Madai, but it disappeared off my computer. I don't know where it is. So we'll continue tomorrow. Okay, so offering our obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, our Guru Parampara, who've so kindly given us this glorious instruction and pastimes to absorb our minds in for our mental health and our physical well-being, right? We offer our obeisances, and all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Gaur Premanande, Haribol, Haribol.